Welcome to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, where we're serving up Pitmaster stories from the best in the barbecue business in the Carolinas and beyond. Today, we're excited to welcome someone who's been called the King of Georgia Barbecue by Bon Appetit magazine. He was the first pitmaster named one of the Food and Wine magazine's best new chefs, and he's been nominated for James Beard Awards twice. Bryan Furman's got deep roots in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, but he's been doing his thing in Atlanta for a long time, and now he's charting a course for new barbecue adventures in Georgia. First, he steps into the spotlight of the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Bryan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Always welcome, Trigger. How you doing, man?
Man, doing good, doing a little bit better than you, I think, because I'm having an opportunity to talk to one of these great barbecue stars, and I know you're going through some trials and tribulations. But let's talk about good things. What is the latest news about Bryan Furman Barbecue and your location in the Atlanta metro?
So I'm open in Bryan Furman Barbecue at 186 Windy Hill Road. Is actually like 5 miles from my old location. And so we're looking at opening that grand opening around September. We're gonna start doing some slight soft opening starting next week.
Soft opening next week, but then not until September. What's going to be going on between soft openings and the official grand opening?
So I'm just trying to get a feel for the area, and I had a guy has a restaurant down the road, like a half a mile from my location,
Mhm.
the Manor House. And so we've been talking about just doing barbecue like Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, because I'm gonna be takeout anyway, and he just want to collab with me. So it's something we're gonna do until everything is full blast, and then take off for September.
Yeah, great. So you kind of mentioned you're going to be takeout. What can folks expect when they visit your new site there? And it's in the Marietta section of the Atlanta Metro.
Of course, we're gonna have my brisket, ribs. Still gonna do pork, chicken. Menu's gonna then drop a lot. We're gonna go with 7 sides, hash and rice, Brunswick stew, mom's collard greens and mac, um, coleslaw, brisket beans, and then we're gonna go with those banana pudding and peach crisp.
Wow, sounds like a fantastic menu. You've already got it pretty well figured out. Of all those things, what do you feel like is your number one focus there?
My number one focus, honestly, this might sound weird, but I'm gonna say customer service.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta's been getting a bad rap for its customer service, so I want to make sure I don't give them a bad rap.
Well,
But
what is
no,
what does
seriously,
what does that mean to you? Good customer service.
good customer service means a lot to me. I will go to a place that has mediocre food and great customer service before I go back to a location that has amazing food and horrible customer service.
Sure,
That's
sure.
me. That's me. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you're not alone in that respect. So, what do you feel like? I know you're all over the place. I've seen you in Chicago. Of course, I saw you got to meet you at the Carolina Barbecue Festival in Charlotte, and I know you're all over the place on the Bryan Furman Barbecue touring streak. How will the restaurant affect your road plans?
Well, I don't think a lot of people really understand. Like I've been doing this since 2015, and even in 2015, I was always on the road.
Hmm.
And we had 4 locations. So what I've done is basically slow it down and focus more on the restaurant and that one
Hmm.
restaurant. And I kind of handpick what events I do. I just basically been on the road so much is to keep the brand out there to let everybody know Bryan Furman's still here. But it's just basically let you know I haven't quit, I haven't fell off. That's it.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about Schoolinary. I searched you on the internet and I see Brian popping up and he's teaching people how to cook barbecue through Schoolinary. What's that all about?
Schoolinary, Richard Byers, he reached out to me a year ago. Actually, it's the first international American barbecue school.
Wow.
And I went to Barcelona last year and taped that, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and it came out March. Just another outlet, that I've ran into and um, became a part of. I'm all about partnerships, so it's a partnership I decided to go along with schooling.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you've recorded one thing. Do you anticipate there'll be other opportunities in the future with that?
Well, we did all the meats, so it was basically American barbecue.
Okay.
So I basically did brisket, pork, ribs, chicken, and then I did my sides. So I don't know which one they showing yet.
Hmm.
Is they showing all of them, or they're spacing them out? But I did all the meats.
Okay. So we'll look for that more to be released there on Schoolinary at schoolinary.com. School
Mhm.
like SCOOLINARY. But going back to the restaurant, take me a little bit through the process of opening up a barbecue restaurant. Now, I know you've had Bees Cracklin in
Mhm.
Savannah and Atlanta, and you've been doing this for a while, but what's the first step in opening a barbecue restaurant in a brick and mortar spot?
Well, there's a difference. There's the turnkey, and then there's the build up.
Hmm.
All my life, I've always did turnkeys. Something I can go in, you put your business license in, contact the health department, fire department, find out what you're doing, takeout, what you're doing, dine in, alcohol license, all those things you want to get up in the front.
Hmm.
This was the first time I actually went through building, buying a piece of land, and then building. But in 2021, when I bought the property, the construction prices changed.
Yeah.
Um, so I went through a couple different GCs, and the last GC I talked to said 2.5. I opened my first restaurant with 15 grand. My first takeout spot opened for 15.
Yeah.
So it took me some time to find a place. Thank you, Doug Shaw, for finding me that location, the old Herb's Rib Shack. But I was looking for a spot towards Hateville, and Doug called me and said, I'm being selfish. Herb's Rib Shack is no longer there. I want you closer to us in Marietta. And I went, talked to the owner, and then I talked to my real estate agent, and I put my old property up for sale because I really didn't want to sell it until I found a spot.
Hmm.
And this is a straight turnkey. So I've already went down, no alcohol. So I'm not doing alcohol. It's going to be takeout only. So that's why I'm looking at September as my main focus.
Hmm.
Um, and then still hitting these tours and getting paid on the road.
Yeah. Well, so how do you plan the menu for your restaurants? Do you just throw it all out there, everything you do, or do you have to take some time and plan and figure out, which things you do and which things you leave out?
Man, I got in my journal in my book bag I got on me right now. But in this book bag, it has from 2021 how I wrote out my menu, and I always knew coming back I wasn't gonna be 32 employees. My first restaurant had six, maybe five.
Yeah.
So I already knew to keep it small, keep it takeout, um, keep it simple. Don't have 30 some items, have 12. Um, Simplify it down. Barbecue is simple when it
Yeah.
comes to the menu and not confusing people too much. So it's just easy. It's like a no brainer to me. So that's how I came up with my menu so quick.
Okay. Well, so now, how do you know when you're going to be ready to open the doors? And you've kind of got the soft opening in the September plan, but how do you know? Okay, I'm ready, and we're ready to go full scale and have the world
Once I
come
see
check
that my
me
team,
out.
once that I see my team can handle the soft opening,
Uh huh.
it's only gonna be Thursday through Sunday. I'm gonna be cooking the meats. I'm basically looking for people that can get the food out. I'm looking for people
Okay.
that can fix those plates and get them out the window. Um, I'm gonna be the guy in the back cooking Thursday, Saturday. We're only gonna be 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday.
Hmm.
Um, and so prepping on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. Mom Duke's coming down, making sides. Um, so that's when I know it's time. When I see that they can pump the food out the window with no problem, then I know
Yeah.
okay, it's time to open. I don't want to go grand opening and then everybody's like, by that
Right.
time, my POS system, my online, we'll have all that trained, the online sales and everything will be put together. So that gives enough time to have all that.
All right. Now, I know I know where your location is currently. I hear a little bit of the background noise. I want to talk to you
Okay.
about what the hardest part about getting started is, but I think you just tell everybody about where you at right now and what's been going on with you on this particular day, Brian.
Um, So there's a new upcoming pit master. His name is Derek. He's opening a location in Garfield, Georgia. And we're on our way to Gastonia to pick up a lane smoker for him.
Right.
And I think it's my transmission. I think we're 30 minutes away from the location, and we hear something on the interstate, and we pull over to the welcome center. I guess it was welcoming North Carolina, welcome me back home. And, pull over, call the tow truck. So I'm at a U-Haul place right now. Kind of see it in the background. We still going to pick the smoker up though. So there's getting a U-Haul. Then we're going back to Atlanta. Getting back on the interstate.
Yeah. So trials and tribulations. What has been the hardest part about this whole process to get this new restaurant open for you?
Honestly, the hardest part is before I didn't have to do it all by myself. This time doing a lot of it by myself, learning a lot, the knowledge of some of the things I never knew before that I just thought was so easy. It's not easy. Walking in, going to those meetings and going to an office, and they tell you, oh, you got to go in this office to get this, and then you got to find out. You get fined if you go put a coming soon sign out. You got to go pay $25 for a permit. You can't just put the sign out. So I was like, well, I thought if I own the property, I could put anything out. You got to go back and do that. So it's just a lot of headache, back and forth, and a lot of that I've got done. So that's why I can look at September, or even if I do August, it's not going to take that much time for me because I got a lot done so far.
Already got the groundwork laid, just ready to start hitting it running, right? So, tell me a little bit about your barbecue roots. Where are you from, and how did you get into this barbecue world?
So I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, Camden, Kershaw County. But my grandparents, they're from Kershaw County, Cassett, and my grandparents had a hog farm. So I grew up around pigs. I grew up around whole hog, barbecue. I grew up eating Campbell's out of Rembert. That's still my favorite of all time. Is Campbell's in Rembert, South Carolina. Mr. Ruth and Miss Francis. Their barbecue and then you got Rodney. Rodney's not far from there. Scott's barbecue. So I grew up around that kind of barbecue. So when I eat other people's whole hog, I have a reason to be kind of petitious, like it's all right, But I grew up around that. Wasn't brisket country. I got into brisket later. But hash and rice stuck out. No other states was doing that. Now it's in Texas, I see. But we'll talk about that later. Other than that, I mean, I just see it as it was an outlet. It was a passion. My dad did it all the time. It's taught me how to do fires. Taught me how to make ribs. Taught me how to do chicken. And I kind of, the brisket and the whole hog was self-taught.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned, obviously, you got some roots there on the hog farming land, and tell me about why it continues to be important for you to try to source that local hog, those heritage breed hogs, and try to source and provide local products through your restaurant.
Because it's better. I don't know any other way to put it. It's simple as saying it's just better. And finding out different outlets. I was at a friend's restaurant yesterday, and he was talking about the CSA and their veggies and different sorts of those things. I didn't even know nothing about that. And I was like, oh, that's something I need to look into for my seasonal veggies at my restaurant that I could use. So it's just, like I say, you never know it all, but I just learn more as I go and talk to people.
Yeah. So I also know you've got some ties to Charlotte in that region. And it looks like, according to what I read here on the interwebs, you had a career as a welder, and then you kind of transformed and shifted into the barbecue world. How did that work as a welder factor into your barbecue aspirations? And I mean, honestly, would you ever come back to Charlotte and do your thing?
Yeah, I always come back to Charlotte. It's be on the lookout. But yeah, I want to be back in Charlotte. That's where I'm from. That's home. Elementary, middle, and high school. So I'm home. And I think if that happened, I will be the only guy in Charlotte. That's from Charlotte with a barbecue restaurant. That's from Charlotte.
Yeah.
Looking at it that way. But man, you just made me forget, Trigger. But I was you said something.
Yeah,
Um,
so you were a welder, and then you
oh,
you
the
got into
welding
the
part.
barbecue
The welding
world,
part.
and they're both
So
real hot and fire
I didn't
fire
want to.
involved.
I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to be a veterinarian, which I wanted to be. But when I found out how long you had to go to school and the credentials you needed, that was a no go for me. So my dad always said learn a trade, and my dad's an electrical engineer. So I decided to learn how to weld since I like to draw and artwork, and so that's how I
Hmm.
became a welder. And I traveled around aluminum, all kinds of metal, thicknesses of metal. I did. But I never thought about making my own smokers. Too much time, too much work. I'd rather just pay for it and keep it moving. Um, but I do know a lot about the flow, the heat flow, and the temps and stuff like that. That's things that I teach at Harvard. Like when I go up there to teach thermodynamics of barbecue, is about the flow and the oxygen of the wood, the diffusion, and all that. So I ain't gonna break it down and be like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here, but I'm just saying that's where I learned a lot of that.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I want to kind of get into some secret time, some of your family jewels there, and this is some other stuff that I've kind of, probed and researched a little bit about your background in barbecue world. Where do you feel like the recognition for American barbecue and barbecue heritage belongs? You shared your dad gets credit in your life, but who gets credit for barbecue in the US and in the South?
It's funny. Me and Derek was talking about that today, and matter of fact, me and Matt Horn was talking about this yesterday, and he was talking about people respecting, black barbecue. Um, and I just said, as long as we respected ourselves, like, don't worry about what other people think about you. Just as long as we respect what we're doing in our craft ourselves. I try never to get caught up in that situation, um, because it's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna sit here and argue about who owned barbecue. I can't talk about that because we all played a part in it. All cultures
Mm-hmm.
played a part in barbecue. I don't care what
Mm-hmm.
nobody say. All cultures played a part. So all cultures should get their recognition for it. But that's not gonna happen. So there's no point even trying to make it happen. My point and my outlook on it. Um, I just noticed like in the South, a lot of things from the East Coast has moved over to other states. Just like you see brisket moving over here. Um, and how I take that outlook is like brisket. When I brought brisket on to my menu, was to give recognition to Miss Brenda. My brisket was actually called Brenda's Brisket. People thought Brenda was my mom, but Brenda was actually a property manager that trained my ex-wife, and she was from Austin. And when I
Mm-hmm.
would cook my hogs, she would ask me to cook her a brisket. I'm like, I don't cook that. That's not an East Coast thing. We don't cook brisket.
Mm-hmm.
And I would throw her one on. And then when I quit my job and opened my restaurant, she was there every weekend buying food for the staff that the company she worked for. She passed away 3 months later, and like to honor her, I put brisket on my menu. So that's where Brenda's brisket come from. So people used to always think, "Oh, that's your mom," or "You went to Texas and learned how to cook brisket." No, I learned how to cook brisket in my backyard. Like I learned, and I just kept on until I got it right. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah. Well, so how do you feel like
I
Brenda
kind of
would?
went around the question because I know how to stay out of certain. I don't want to get caught up. I know how to stay out of certain things, but you know,
Yeah. Well, that's okay. But how do you feel like Miss Brenda would rate your brisket today?
I mean, she was from Austin, Texas. She was asking me to cook it every week for nothing. Like. And then it's funny because a lot of people are like, even in Atlanta, they're like, "Oh, you're known for your brisket," and I'm like, "I wasn't known for brisket. I was known for like whole hog and ribs." But okay, um, my brisket. Don't sleep on the brisket. I always tell people that. Don't sleep on the brisket. But it's always good to have other people out there. And I talked to Derek about this today. Just trying to be better,
Mm.
like better, like consistency wise. Like it's like wine. Wine gets better as it ages. Like I think in barbecue, some people get relaxed or they get comfortable and they feel like, okay, this is it. And nah, that's not it. It couldn't do nothing but get better. And I had a lady tell me this at one of my events 3 years ago. She was like, "Your ribs taste better than they taste at the restaurant," and I was like, "Thank you." Like, I appreciated her telling me that, because it's like, well, they should be tasting better. Like, I've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nah.
Okay. Well, so you mentioned Miss Brenda there, and I've
Mhm.
I've read before that you said you wanted to bring more female pitmasters into the fold. Do you feel like the barbecue world is evolving to include more women and more diverse voices?
I think the barbecue world is enough room for everybody.
Hmm.
I just think some voices don't get spoken louder than others, or the right people are not speaking up for them. But I feel like that's something that should have been going on a long time ago. Like, my mom taught me how to make sides. My mom had me in the kitchen at an early age, because she said I might run into somebody that couldn't cook. You ready? Okay. Nice meeting you guys.
Oh yeah, you guys.
And Brian's is changing locations. He's not hanging up on us, but I know that he's
No, I'm
on the
not hanging
move.
up. Hey man, I got Derek's hotspot here. I got his hotspot, so I'm good. I'm good. But you
This
can't
is
see
not
me
only our
walking. You can't see me walking in the U-Haul area.
this is not only our first podcast recorded in the U-Haul, it's also our first podcast recorded on the move.
On the move to pick up a smoker.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's perfect for a guy like Bryan Furman, who's
Yeah,
always on the
we're
move,
on the
right?
road to pick up a smoker. My man Derek was like, "Brian, I found this smoker. I gotta go pick it up." I'm like, "I'll take you. I'll take you. We going to pick it up." And he was like, "We was riding today." He's like, "Man, I can't believe Bryan Furman is taking me to pick up a smoker." I'm like, "Hey, bro, like, somebody got to do it." So
And now it's U-Haul that's got to do it.
the good thing about it is I ain't got to drive now.
Yeah, well, hey, that is a good thing. So we're talking a little bit about female voices and getting all voices and room for that in the barbecue world. I also know that judges have a voice in the world,
Don't
and
beat
I've
me up.
heard you say before that you don't cook for judges, you cook for people. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I don't cook for judges. I don't cook for judges. I cook for the people. Means, like, back in the day, people would come in the restaurant. Shut that down. Can you hear me?
Yep.
People would come in the restaurant and they would be like, um, "Oh my goodness, you need to cook this a little bit. Um, like, the meat need to be tougher, or the sauce." And I automatically know they're a judge. Automatically tell their barman. I just look at them. I'll be like, "Are you a judge?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, how?" I'm like, "I can tell already." I was like, "But how comes you don't let mustard sauce in competitions? Like, if this is a barbecue competition, why is only bluegrass sauce allowed?
Yeah.
You talk about how good my peach mustard sauce is, but if I was to put it on a plate to turn in, you would disqualify before even tasting it. So how are you going to call this a competition?" So I would go do events, and they will have these little well, I cook the hog, and I explain to the group, like, these classes. And as I'm doing the class, they would basically ask questions. And then one guy asked me one time, he was like, "Do you do competitions?" I say, "Nope, that's not real barbecue." I was like, "Most of those guys that's in those classes go to a 4-hour class. They can't even light a fire, like, so no, I'm not gonna go to that. I'm not gonna listen to them." And I remember one day, a lady, she was sitting in the front row after I made that statement. I was walking through the hotel, and she was like, "I don't like what you said about the judges. Like, us going to this 4-hour class." And I'm like, "Well, it's the truth. Like, most of y'all can't even light a fire. Like, so I'm supposed to judge you, let you judge me." So that's where, like, I don't cook for judges. I cook for the people, and the people meaning everybody. Like, you could pull up at B's and you'll have a billionaire sitting at the bar right next to you, a millionaire. Everybody's out there. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what barbecue stood for to me, where I don't want to be judged. And when I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm judged about a situation, I don't even want to be in it. So that's where I went and got that trademark too. So if anybody out there go, trust me, it's LLC and it has a stamp on it. So
Yeah. That's your thing. All right. Now I know you're getting on the move, so we're going to wrap this up pretty quick here. Let me just tell
Okay.
you, ask you, at last, what do you enjoy most about being a pit master and operating a barbecue business and living in this barbecue life?
What I enjoy the most is my passion. Um, like I can get up and do that every day with no problem. Like I love what I do. So, and I've been in mental states like going through this for the past couple years, mental like depression phases, right, and stressed about the situation of getting this. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And then I have an event, and one of my friends, Cortez, he came up to me one day. I was cooking a hog, and he was like, "You're in your element." And I looked at him, and I was like, "What you mean?" He was like, "You're in your element." He was like, "You know how we talk?" Because I talk like that to my friends. And he was like,
Mhm.
"You're a total different person today." And he was like, "You doing what you like to do." So I think like with barbecue, it keeps my mind busy, but it also puts me in my element of what I like to do. And that's why most people see me on the road all the time and see me traveling because I enjoy doing it. So,
And that, my friends, is the lowdown from Bryan Furman, Bryan Furman Barbecue. Bryan, thanks so much for joining the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
hey, and don't forget about Garfield, Georgia this year at Jacqueline's Southern Porch. This pitmaster here, Derek, he's gonna be on the show next, Chigger, when he opens his location down in Garfield. This is gonna be the guy you remember as the U-Haul.
The
U-Haul
U-Haul.
barbecue. U-Haul barbecue. That's what we need to name it. U-Haul barbecue. All right, man. You have a good one.
Fantastic. You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcast. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you'll find the blog and you can hear other podcast episodes. If you like what you hear in the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast network. That helps other people find our podcast. And remember, visit lowslowbbqshow.com to subscribe to the Lowdown newsletter. We'll send you the latest podcasts, blogs, recipes, barbecue events, and more, all right to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. Special thanks to our guest, Bryan Furman. Thanks as well to our producer, Andrew Moose, and the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcast. Most especially, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.